Sidney Crosby is still an elite player in the NHL, and we all know that. That's not breaking news. The problem is the Penguins around him, not so much. Pittsburgh isn't chasing cups anymore. They're rebuilding, and that puts the spotlight squarely on 87.
Another year with the team falling short of the playoffs, and I think that's obviously an immediate measure. We're here today, and there are 16 teams that are competing to try to win the Stanley Cup, and as we've talked about previously, that's really our goal is to build the team back to being a contender for the Stanley Cup.
Last year was rough, and I feel for the Penguins fans. They missed the playoffs for the third straight season, finishing 7th in the Metro. Mike Sullivan, the coach behind 2 Stanley Cups in his first 2 seasons, is gone. In comes Dan Muse, a first-time NHL head coach tasked with blending Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and the young players trying to break into the lineup.
You can use whatever analogy you want. Sometimes the class needs a new professor, and sometimes the professor needs a new class. And after my conversation with Mike on Tuesday about his feelings of where we're at and where we need to go, we just sat and contemplated it for the week, and then made the decision to go yesterday and have a conversation with him, just essentially saying that I think it's just time.
GM Kyle Dubas has made it clear he doesn't want to make the playoffs just for the sake of making the playoffs. He wants to rebuild to build a consistent contender, a team that makes it to the dance every single season, and when they get there, they're looked upon as one of the teams to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, next season would be, it would be a tremendous accomplishment for the players. But I think if you look at the history of these things, to go from where we're at now to all the way back to legitimate contention, and I don't equate just getting into the playoffs with being a contender. When I say as urgently as possible, I tried not to put a timeline on it because I don't want this to be a perpetual and evergreen conference. We come in and we say, we're just a year or 2 or so away. We're pushing because I think that's what the organization here is used to, what the fans want. We just have to stick to a very concise plan and then execute our butts off. That's for sure.
And that brings us back to Crosby, 38 years old, still producing at an elite level. 91 points last year on that Penguins team with nobody on it. Let's be real. It's just him producing at this rate. 3 straight years of 90 plus points. That's incredible from 87. And like I keep mentioning, the problem is he's on a team that is not built to win now and will not be built to win now for the foreseeable future. Things can change fast, but you can't really expect that from this Penguins team. And midway through the year, he'll be chasing the Olympics, which only raises the stakes for his preparation, his conditioning, and his health.
Like missing the playoffs the last few years, I think there's always going to be, thoughts and opinions, and we got to prove it. I think that we got to find a way to get back there. It takes a lot of different things, but I think if anything, teams have proven that they can turn it around pretty quickly.
And how about Evgeny Malkin, 39 years old? He'll be in Pittsburgh for the last time, ending a 20-year career in the city that drafted him. That means the trio of Malkin, Crosby, and Letang, it's over. It's done. And that to me signifies the end, at least the end of that era, and it's time to move on to something different. So again, as much as this is about Pittsburgh moving in a different direction, it's about Crosby. Because we all care about Crosby. He's so important to the NHL. People want to see him succeed. People want to see him in the playoffs. And I'm sure the Pittsburgh Penguins fans want to see him in the playoffs as well. But what does he want? Even if the Penguins somehow, and it would be a miracle, make the playoffs, it's a one and done situation. It's not like there's going to be some magical deep run from this Pittsburgh team.
Sid is going to want to win every single thing he does. He was on the ice here today, and he's in some competition with whoever he can get to go on the ice with him. He wants to win everything he does every single day that he does it. So until we are back contending to win the Stanley Cup, I expect him to be grumpy, and I expect him to express the toll that he explained to everybody in the room. That's who he is. That's what makes him able to perform the way he does at 37, 38, who knows for however many years. Like, I'm not going to put a timeline on this. Talk about not putting timelines. That's one you probably never should unless you really want to lose, because that's another competition for him.
Which makes Crosby's choice even louder. What do? Do you ride it out in a rebuild and stick with the team because you're incredibly loyal, which I absolutely respect, and I would not be surprised because of how loyal we know that Sidney Crosby is? Or do you say, screw it, trade me somewhere else, bring in some assets, let me go chase one more cup? All while getting prepared and geared up for maybe his last, probably his last Olympic run with Canada.